Oh, wow. That's pretty good. Well, you must be a high IQ person.
Never listen to a pannikin.
Salute. Oh, son of a bitch.
Trump's a Jew!
Let's go. Come on. Get in. Let's go. Pwah. Oh, look at my African American over here. Look at him.
It's important to segregate. I don't really care, Margaret.
Shut up, silly woman. Gross. Ew. We're gonna kill you. We're gonna give you the death penalty or kill you.
Good afternoon, Patriots. This is Agent Q.
We're gonna win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're gonna win more.
Did you guys see that that Trump said earlier today that he might be the last Republican president? I don't know what he actually meant by that. I don't know any of the context. I have a Breaking Slop account that I just have notifications on because I kind of want to see what the Breaking Slop accounts are saying. And that's all he said. All it said was just a quote. Trump says he might be the last Republican president. And I was like, there's a lot of ways that we could take that. Is it because the Republican Party is going to cease to exist? Is it because the future leader of the American empire is going to be called the Trump? J.D. Vance is just going to be Trump 2. 2 in Roman numerals, of course. Trump 2. And then we'll get Trump 3. And thus forward, we don't refer to him as the president anymore. We refer to him as the Trump. Does he become the God Emperor? I don't know. The Trumperer. Someone was suggesting in the chat that the Trumperer. That's pretty good. Mr. Stu says maybe this is where the Tucker kayfabe comes in. Yeah. I can't remember if I have something in here with Tucker stuff today. I don't think so. I think I ended up pulling that one out of the stack. This is actually going to be kind of a short lab. Much shorter. Even when I say usually we're going to have a short one, this is going to be a short one. I'm thinking maybe an hour. We'll see. And then I got to get over into the King Pilled Discord for the voice chat tonight, which normally would be starting right about now. But I was getting some work done today, and I was digging on something. Every once in a while, you're like a dog with a bone. You get your thing that you're just digging on. Oh, I gotta know. I gotta figure this thing out. I gotta answer these questions. I need to understand this thing. And so I had some things that I was digging on today, and it delayed me. And ultimately, I had a much longer show planned, and I was like, yeah, I ran out of time. I was like going through and like vetting some things and trying to inform myself a little bit more about a couple of headlines, and then I realized, all right, I'm out of time. I gotta just pick out this most pertinent thing, and that's the thing we'll talk about today, and then I'll go into the voice chat. Sunday afternoon, we will have the Pseudolab. I have a preview for you guys here in just a few moments. We'll talk about that. Let me think here. I've got Lurch with $50 in magical internet money. Thank you, Lurch, for that. Please do go to tips.kingpill.com and support the cause today. Jeffrey is present and accounted for. He says it's going to be a two-parter. I have one part. Are you saying that there's another part that will be coming? There'll be another part that we witness during the main event itself, or is there something else you sent me that I didn't get? Make sure I'm not missing something here. Yes, Amy, Jeffrey is present and accounted for. We're doing Firefly for the Pseudolab. This is going to be great. I've never seen Firefly, and I've had almost every person I've ever known in my life has told me I need to watch Firefly, and I've never actually sat down and watched Firefly. So I'm looking forward to this. This will be very good. All right, we've got I can't spoil it. I can't be heard spoiling it. But there's something that's about to happen. And I need to wait to see if I'm heard spoiling the thing that's going to happen, then I'll be in big trouble. And I definitely don't want to be in big trouble. That's a bad place to be. You don't want to be on the bad side of trouble. Vamping. I have something to say about this, about soccer, about American soccer. There's a thing there that a tie-in that I have. So I'm putting a pin in that in case I forget after we complete this next segment here. In case I forget, I want to say something about soccer, and you guys can remind me of that. Hold the phone. Ah! It's happening! Look who's here. Okay, you got to settle down. You got to settle. Come on. All right, you promised to be calm, so you got to be calm, okay?
A zombie attacked Daddy's neck.
Yep, Daddy got zombied. What did you watch today?
Hotel Transylvania.
Yeah, what was that about?
Mm-hmm. It was about tons of monsters.
Tons of monsters.
And it was a hotel just for monsters.
He's got his next letter from the Tooth Fairy here.
And guess what?
And what did you get? It's not actually gonna show on screen. I just realized that. There it is. Money. $10 real. Where'd you get that $10 from?
I got it from
Keep it out of my face. Keep it out of my face.
I got it from my boss.
From your loss?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, can you show the people your loss? Do a big cheesy grin. Show us your teeth. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, and you've got a lisp now, don't you? You learned what a lisp is? Where you kind of talk a little funny because your teeth are missing? Oh, he's a scary guy. Look at those chompers.
I look like a vampire.
Yeah, just wait until you get your adult teeth come in and what that's going to look like. You're a vampire like on Hotel Transylvania? Yikes! What's it like missing a tooth?
Pretty good.
Yeah? Does it affect you eating?
No.
No, it doesn't.
But a loose tooth does. I'm gonna get you a phone.
All right, keep that out of the microphone.
Oh, come on.
All right. Well, you need to say thank you.
Oh,
You need to say
man.
thank you to Mr. Jeff
For what? What did he do?
for the $10.
Mr. Depp didn't give them to me.
He didn't.
The Tooth Fairy did.
Oh, that's right. The Tooth Fairy did. Test passed.
That's fat.
Yeah. What else did the Tooth Fairy
Let's
bring
feed
you?
it
Hey,
into
stop. What else did the Tooth Fairy bring you?
Griddle.
Yeah?
Let's feed it into the money machine.
No, we're not going to do that.
Exchanged for cash.
Yeah. Okay, exchange for cash. Do you want to read part of your letter?
What?
You want to read part of your letter from the Tooth Fairy?
You're keeping me busier than a than a bee in a candy shop.
Speak up a little bit.
Barely finished polishing your last tooth, and here you are sending me another healthy little beauty.
Yeah.
Can you read from there?
I'll read the next part. I'm thrilled to see such a strong and shiny tooth. Your smile is clearly doing its job. Now you read the next one.
Now make sure mouth closed.
He handed TPS for his 2 lower teeth. Based.
Real Stephen Miller! Hold on just a sec, bud. Thank you, Real Stephen Miller.
So my sneaky and cheeky little fairy friends can't play hide and seek in that back cave you have behind your lips.
You've got a bat cave behind your lips?
Just a friendly fairy note. The first
Speak
tooth,
up. Speak clearly.
The first tooth always gets the big grand prize. You earned it. The ones that follow get a slightly smaller treasure. Otherwise, my tiny wings would collapse under all the gold coins. Keep those teeth healthy.
Speak clearly.
Keep those teeth healthy, shiny and bright, and that grin growing. I'll be back before you can.
Oh, there's the Tooth Fairy. Sometimes she has to take care of lots of kids. She has to get teeth for lots of kids. So sometimes when she's writing her letters, she might have little mistakes.
Before you can say tooth-tactic.
Tooth-tastic.
Tooth
Very nice. What does the last part here say?
tooth
Right here.
tactic.
Right here.
Tooth tactic.
Yeah. She types fast when she's making her letters.
P.S. Really don't forget to take very good care of the rest.
Stop.
The rest of your baby teeth. Please brush, floss, and drink lots of milk. Healthy teeth are still my favorite.
Yes. You drinking lots of milk? What kind of milk do you drink?
Cereal.
Cereal?
I
You drink raw milk. All right. All right, Daddy needs to get back to his show
Can you
now,
hold
okay?
that?
No, I'm not going to hold that.
Can
I need to
you
get back
put
to
it
my
like
show now,
this
okay?
So it looks like it's your head.
I don't know if it'll show up. Is it showing up?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is. It's my head. I've been turned into a letter. All right. You got to take your money. Easy now. I don't want to get a paper cut across my face. Okay. Time to go back downstairs, okay? Say goodbye to everyone.
Bye-bye. What's the K for?
I used to have that behind me. The K is for king-pilled. I used to have it behind me.
Oh, how was it made?
It was made out of wood
What was it made for?
for people who want to have a K.
What's that little closet thing for?
That's extra office equipment that I'm not using right now.
That tiny closet in the wall.
Oh, that goes into the attic. But you can't walk on it because it's just fiberglass insulation, so it'll make your feet very unhappy. All right, bud. Going back down to mommy. Love you, big guy. Have a good sleep. Oh my goodness. He was we were down here. He was like kicking stuff down here on the floor, and I was trying to like making rustling sounds and stuff. So I'm trying to keep his foot away from it. He and I were down here like fighting with our feet down underneath the desk. Thank you, Real Stephen Miller. I don't know if you guys could hear the. Go downstairs. Okay. I don't know if you guys could hear the alert when it came through. He said he ended TPS for his 2 lower teeth based. Okay. All right. What was the thing that I needed to say after all of that? Oh, tooth protected status. U.S. soccer. So I'm, you guys know I'm a soccer fan. I'm constantly following the soccer news and such. And the American Soccer League, MLS, is going through different iterations since it was first founded in 1996, and it's expanding, growing, figuring out how to work its way into a new market, but balance and maintain itself as something distinct from the international markets. In order to do that, in some ways, it has to make itself more like the international markets, but it has to try to retain the thing that differentiates it. And so there's a lot of this is super fascinating to me from the business and financial and organizational side. So there's like MLS is a unique league in that it's the covers lots of different time zones, lots of different climates, different elevations, tons and tons of travel that European players or most foreign players aren't familiar with. It's a little more familiar for South American players, but America is very unique in the fact that it is one nation, a single culture. Even though there are subcultures, there is a single American culture, and then particular American. What would you call them? There's like incentive structures that are built in based on the wealth of America, the current economic constructs of America. You get all into all sorts of interesting demographic details and everything, but there are things that are very unique and distinct about the American game, and then also taking a game that's really well, and this is I say it's a game because it is a game, but it's also like every different business is a game. So there's a lot of things that map from the normal business corporate world into the sports world as well. So you're taking a game that's well established with a particular format elsewhere, and you're growing it in America while maintaining its distinct American qualities. So one big thing that most other leagues have is promotion and relegation, some sort of promotion and relegation, especially in Europe. And what this means is that you have multiple tiered leagues, and every year the top like 2, 3, 4 teams from the lower league advance to the higher league and replace the bottom 2, 3, or 4 leagues from the higher league. So they get promoted, they get relegated. When this happens, there's lots of different financial things that are done to accommodate for this. But basically, when a team goes from a lower league to an upper league, they get a huge influx of cash from media rights deals. And when they get relegated, they lose that cash. So this creates a massive incentive, lots of drama, lots of end of season drama, because it's not just like, we might get eliminated from the playoffs this year. It's we might get demoted and have to blow up our entire team and then try to rebuild together from balling on a shoestring budget. America doesn't have this. America has playoffs, and there's a lot of different reasons why the promotion and relegation thing just won't work in America. A big part of it is the finances of it. It just wouldn't work. Teams would be folding if they got relegated, and just not really having enough teams, and the talent gaps being so wide across the different leagues that are in existence right now. However, there is a unique role that the American iteration of soccer can play on the world stage. And so American soccer has gone through different generations, sort of. And what's happening now is you had like MLS 1.0, then MLS 2.0, MLS 3.0, and now we're kind of entering like an MLS 4.0, where they're changing the schedule. So to this point, the schedule has run generally like February to November, somewhere in that range. They are switching it now to match with all of the other nations, all the other countries' schedules. And starting in 2027, they're going to do a short abbreviated sprint season. That's something like 17 games, I think. And then they're going to take a break during the summer. And then the new season is going to run from August to May. The reason they're doing this is so that they can align the transfer windows. Because like in every sport, you have like a window, and like you have a free agency window, and then it has implications for contracts and when players' contracts can expire and all this sort of thing. In soccer, you have transfer windows. And so these are windows when the windows open and teams can transfer players to and from them. So if a league's transfer window is closed, then they can't acquire players from outside the league. And right now, the transfer windows have only overlapped in the summer. So they're switching it around so now the transfer windows will line up, and they're going to use this opportunity to radically alter the roster construction because MLS was set up as a single entity to prevent it from caving in on itself. It had to be able to maintain some level of profitability. So actually, all of the teams are contained under the MLS umbrella, and the MLS owns the player contracts and then apportions them out to the teams. This is kind of another problem for the promotion relegation structure. But it's actually, and here's where there's a really fascinating divide that, so you could think of like your typical soccer fan, like the type of person you associate being a soccer fan. And then within that category of person, I realize I'm kind of an outlier here, but within that category of person, there is incredibly deeply entrenched total and complete contempt between Americans and Europeans. The Europeans are like these stupid Americans. They've got their gay commercialized like playoffs and halftime shows, and they've got like their fake rules that they have to like protect the league and everything. And yet, like, yeah, those rules exist because they protect the league and they're working. They are protecting the league and the league is growing. And American money is going to have an opportunity to really start speaking here. And I was thinking about this because they just elected a new commissioner. The owners appointed a new commissioner. They've had one commissioner for the whole of the existence of MLS. Now they've got a new guy. He used to be a minority owner in one of the teams, and he's been a diehard personal fan of soccer for a long time. He comes from Apollo Global Management, which is very interesting. Now we're starting to see private equity making big moves into American soccer because they're realizing if we can go into, they're using the Messi model. This is a place where guys, hedge funds, private equity, like guys who are looking for an edge, they're realizing American soccer is really starting to grow. And if we can come in and we can throw down $50 or $100 million, we can buy a team for, I think Inter Miami, it was established in, was it 2021? This whole story with David Beckham there is really, really brilliant what he did. When he came to the Galaxy as a player, part of his deal was that he would be able to buy an MLS franchise for $25 million in the future. And about 6 or 8 years ago, MLS went back to him and offered to buy that option back from him for $50 million. And he said no. He kept it. He got an MLS team, Inter Miami, for $25 million. And then he had big financial backing that came in, and they went out and bought a bunch of huge stars, including Lionel Messi. Now Inter Miami is worth well over $1 billion. So there's huge potential growth opportunities here where guys can come in, they can front the cash, acquire these really talented players from overseas, but then this runs into the development of young American players too. Are these expensive foreign players coming in and replacing the young American players? So there's a really interesting conflict that's building up within American soccer. But I'm thinking about like, I was remembering COVID and how COVID was like the closest we ever came to having like sports stop. And yet it didn't. There was like, just kind of dialed down and limited, but there's this, it is, to the sports people, it is completely unfathomable to imagine not having another season for their team. The people who follow it, who live and breathe it, it is unconscionable that you would like suspend a season. Now, occasionally you'll get it because there's like a collective bargaining agreement thing, but they like will try to bend over backwards to prevent this from happening, from having some kind of a lockout. Because there is so much inertia behind sports, and sports involves such large sums of money that I think of all of the people who are like, oh, society's just going to like collapse and break apart. And like, you know, like Tucker Carlson's like saying, you're going to have a visa to travel between states and they're going to get all fractured away from each other. We're going to lose the interstate highway system and all this kind of thing. And I'm like, something as you know, silly as sports involves, it's so complex through all the different levels of organizational structures, and it's so deeply intertwined across and media organizations, and so deeply intertwined globally that the idea that would just break down and fall apart is completely unthinkable to such a huge portion of the population. Which means when you get down to the individual decision-making levels of each individual person, nobody is going to make that move that leads to the next move, that leads to the next move, that causes the breakdown and collapse of these sorts of structures. These are load-bearing structures that hold civilization together and ensure that it keeps plodding on no matter what. And now there's as MLS starts making these big moves, just as a matter of fact, it's going to continue growing and improving and becoming more and more profitable as businesses. And this is an area where lots of rich people are looking for a unique kind of clever way to something to put their assets into that's maybe more dynamic and has some upside. And it's kind of fun, honestly. And then I was contemplating the implications of AI. And you talk about how, like, you know, we're not going to need jobs. We're going to have way more time for leisure. And people think leisure is like laying around and doing nothing, but it's not. That's not leisure. Leisure is more like what we would call today a hobby. You think of the like feudal lords or something. Like they didn't have a job. They didn't like have something where they went and clocked in to try to make money. They had assets that they managed, and then their time was spent in either like politics or community. You call it community organizing, you know, like doing things with the community, traveling, and then inventing things. And the introduction of this mass programmable slave class called AI and AI robots, what it's going to do is it's actually going to it's going to continue trending in the direction of the average person being able to live like a medieval feudal lord, where they have these serfs that they've trained that work for them, and then they move more into the higher level sort of overseer and networking, and then within that you have family, and you have traveling and inventing and experiencing the world, and it's going to free up a lot of time. But what that time being freed up is going to do is it's actually going to start driving people together in person more. Because you'll be able to leave the slaves at home, working, cleaning, doing all those sorts of things. Your baseline level of needs are going to be provided for, so you're actually going to have the time and the desire to go out and interact with people more. And I think another thing you're going to see is the growth in sporting. You think of like English landowners organizing fox hunts. You can apply that concept to a bunch of different levels. People are going to have more time, more money, and more ability to look for edges in sports. So you're going to have an explosion in different types of sports and interest in sports and bandwidth and ability to invest time and money into things like sports. And as this is happening in America, within this class of people who are overwhelmingly like shit-lib globalist inclined, this is going to drive American soccer culture and institutions more and more into direct conflict with European soccer culture and institutions. Because like necessarily they're competitors, but then they're also business partners in a certain way, because there's some European clubs that use the American clubs as sources of development. You know, loan a player over there so he gets playing time at a lower level and can prepare himself to come to the higher level. And then as the American level continues to raise, then that dynamic starts to change. And once we start seeing massive capital flight out of Europe, I'm going to be really fascinated to see what this does to the big European teams. Because this is the other thing with promotion and relegation, is certain teams have reached such a threshold that it's impossible for them to ever finish. They actually are not threatened by relegation. Like PSG is never going to get relegated. Real Madrid's never going to get relegated. Bayern Munich is never going to get relegated. So those European leagues are actually, you know, like 2, 3 to 6, 7 top teams. And then everybody else is just fighting for, can we crack the top 10? Can we crack the top 5? And can we stay out of the bottom? Whereas the American system, the way it's been constructed, it's actually designed to preserve more parity. So it's very difficult to maintain any sort of a dynasty within the MLS structure. So it literally can be any team, any year. So I was contemplating all of these things in the light of the major economic changes that are happening right now. There's been some banger podcasts dropping lately. I saw the Promethean Action ladies have made it onto Asmongold's radar. Oh yeah. This is everything is proceeding as I have foreseen. Remember my pinned tweet? A pinned tweet for most of the year. The city of London will become a household name by the end of 2026. I said that in December of 2025. Everything is proceeding as I have foreseen. Was there a Bridge Colby interview? Hold on. I got to make sure I have this ready. I've been trying to listen to these things because Luongo's been on a heater. Who interviewed him? I searched for Bridge Colby on X and I just get a bunch of my own tweets. Thank you, Gay Dave, for the 5 gifted subs. Omega Gamma, No Free Will, FGH 135, Thomas Dank, and Custodestro. Congratulations, guys. I don't know why the alert didn't come through for me. It's kind of weird. There's just no sound. It's just completely silent. Let me do this. Refresh. This. Refresh. And okay, so it didn't play the alert. If I play it again, it'll double it up on the goal. But Custodestro showing up again. I haven't seen him in a while. Let me give you your little drop, Gabe.
You know, Dave Johnson is the gayest person to ever walk this green earth.
Here is the biggest, gayest man in the world.
Wow. So gay. So gay.
Thank you, Gayest Dave. Tell me what the... Okay, there we go. All right, we've got a Bridge Colby interview. Oh, with Ross Douthat. Oh, this is great. 2 weeks ago, how did I miss this? Iran, China, Canada, Trump's grand strategy explained. Excellent. Okay, so I've got something else to watch later on. Reminder, voice chat in the King Pill Discord after this. So what are some of the other ones I've just listened to recently? So there's Rich's Politics has been on like a 1 year heater, just dropping fire constantly. He even got a straight up Q guy talking about like the origins of Q and everything. That one was really good, very interesting. He had Mike Steger from Promethean Action. The Democrats mortgage their own headquarters. It gets worse. Promethean Updates had It's Over. Trump just dismantled the 300-year city of London empire. That was very good. Tom Luongo and Vince Launchy were on with Rich. Trump just broke Europe. That was a banger. And then Tom talked to Larry Lepard. Larry Lepard. I don't know exactly how it's pronounced. Larry Lepard in the Paths to the Big Print. That one is a must listen. you guys must go listen to that one, because Larry's a really good example of the sort of like Goldbug or Austrian or Dollar Bear kind of, who's looking at the math and is like, this math just doesn't math. And yet they're honest enough to consider other alternatives. And he and Tom had a really good conversation where Tom was able to say, yes, so everything that you've said is correct within this frame. But here's all the stuff that's happening outside of your frame, and this is what indicates the direction that we're going. And it kicked off a bunch of thoughts for me that led to the title of today's episode. What did I say? The world's money is the productive capacity of the American people. Now, if you didn't catch yesterday's episode where I talked about why it clicked for me, why I think they keep referencing Hamilton and what we can learn from what Hamilton did, and then sort of like the guiding principles of what they're doing now. Specifically, the way that Hamilton consolidated the debts of the states into the first national bank of the United States. And I think that this is a model for what's coming down the pike ahead of us here. And they're having to kind of accelerate their way through this. And this has deep implications with Iran. And this is one of the things that a lot of people I've seen, really good truthers, really good, honest guys, who are like, yeah, the Iran thing was a mistake. It was a unforced error. They're not getting anything out of it. And I want to address why. I understand why people have that perspective. I want to speak to why that is not the case. Why what's happening in Iran is actually fundamental to the changes that are coming. So we're going to go back to some first principles. But before we do that, we've got a preview. A Pseudowave preview. This Sunday, I'll be live streaming on Kick as we watch the newest edition of the Pseudowave. He has done one every single week since Trump was reelected. What is this, week 81 now? So here we got a preview. I'm just a teenage hedge knight, lady. I watched this one already, I got to admit.
Her name is Noel. I have a dream about her under some spell. I whispers within the hour how she is fair, with flowers in her hair. But she knoweth not that I live, and she giveth not a fig about me. For I'm but a greenhorn wagtail lady, not but a hedge-born blackguard lady. I'd stand in an iron maiden lady for thee. Oh,
we're Bardcore maxing in the Big 2-6, boys.
He bringeth a sword to mass knew he but the truth. My hide he would surely thrash, his keeps on the hill. 'Tis his fields I till, but he knoweth not that I live, and he giveth not a fig about me. For I'm but a greenhorn wagtail lady, not but a hedge-born blackguard lady. I'd stand in an iron maiden lady for thee. Oh, oh, greenhorn, she knoweth not what she is missing. Oh, hedge-born,
Such a good movie.
she knoweth not what she is missing. I feel overbold. This banquet is far too lofty, low, and behold, she walketh over to me, must be and in the noose. How doth she know that I live? And why doth she care a whit about me?
I've 2 pathways to flee to fair Arcady. Come with me 3 days hence, I pray thee. I'm not but a greenhorn wagtail, truly like thee.
Never in my life would I have thought that bardcore teenage dirtbag over a Knight's Tale highlight reel was possible. Once again, I must say, thank you, Donald Trump. We truly live in the golden age. All right, so one of the things that did sound like Michael Card. Holy cow. I didn't think that anybody in here would know who Michael Card was. Mr. Sue, there's levels. Man. That's crazy. I haven't thought about Michael Card in forever. I grew up listening to Michael Card and John Michael Talbot. Agipop Master knows Michael Card? Yeah, our great Messianic Jew. That's crazy. That's a throwback. As I was listening to Tom and Larry, they were talking about you talk about like bonds and sovereign debt and currencies and currency values and all this stuff, and it's all very abstract and there's so many moving parts, and it's hard to keep it all in your head. Like, what does this stuff actually mean? And then you've got the Austrian observations about value is subjective, and so you have hard assets, and then you have soft assets, and then people talk about financialization and what does financialization mean, and fractional reserve banking and inflation, and then there's price inflation, there's inflation on the money supply, there's all these different things, and it's like you need to have a graduate degree understanding of finance and geopolitics and global economics to try to wrap your mind around all of this. But Doom Guy with the C-note, pulling an LBJ, just dropping jumbo on the table. Thank you, Doom Guy, and real Stephen Miller. Things are looking up, boys.
Boner alert.
Make sure you go to forum.kingpill.com, and in case we hit the goal today, we're over halfway already. If we hit the goal today, then someone who signed up at forum.kingpill.com is going to win 10%. 10% of the total tip take. Go over to forum.kingpill.com and sign up. So what we've got here is we've got a massive distortion of value that has gotten to the point where it's impossible for people to tell what something actually costs. There's the whole burrito debate, and there's some of that stuff that I pulled off to talk about in the future. I just didn't have time to get into it all today. But, what does it mean if a burrito costs $20? What does that even mean? We're saying, a burrito costs $20. And somehow it to some people, it's like, well, that seems like that's too much. It's too much to pay $20 for a burrito. But then, someone might want to pay $20 for a burrito. What does this even mean? What does it even mean that a burrito costs $20? How are we've got these two different things, and we're comparing them to each other, and we're like, oh, this number too big. And numbers are all out of whack with each other. And you can try to trace this back as far as you can go to see, you can highlight the different moments where things diverged, and you can post all the charts and all of that. But at the end of the day, what the problem here is that we have a distortion, a fundamental distortion between the expected value in the world and the actual value in the world. So if you have your example of the example Rich gave on the stream I played here the other day, where he says you have your kilo of gold, and I have this kilo of gold, and then I give you the equivalent. I give you $100 of paper for this kilo of gold. So we say this $100 of paper is equivalent in value to this kilo of gold. And you're going to go out and it's easier to have the $100 of paper because you can subdivide it more easily. You can carry it around with you and exchange it. It's easier than carrying the lump of gold, et cetera, et cetera. But then I go and I say, I'm going to give you $100. And I'm going to give you $100 and you $100. All of these rooted back to this lump of gold. So there's only still that one lump of gold, but now there's all these different dollar claims out there for this lump of gold, or paper claims for this lump of gold. And then people begin building more and more things on top of those paper claims. You lend against the paper claim because it's like, well, I have this paper claim and I'm going to bet that I'm not going to need to reunite the paper to the gold before I can get whatever money I can get off of this next derivative transaction. And so people make bets, and then they make bets on the bets, and then bets on the bets, and bets on the bets on the bets. And eventually you get to the point where there's so many different people all trying to make claims to the same smaller bundle of assets that are actual real assets. And so there needs to be a leveling of the claims that are out there and the claims that are able to be fulfilled. So there aren't fake claims, there aren't bad claims, there aren't unfulfillable claims to value out there. And so there's like different ways that this can go. You could either have all of the claims collapse down to the actual root collateral, the actual hard source of value. You could have them all collapse back down to it and kind of like pretend the last however many decades or centuries didn't happen. This is going to be catastrophic. Or you can have the relative values of those actual fixed assets expand to match the claims. So what this would look like is the price of gold skyrocketing, the price of Bitcoin skyrocketing, the price of silver skyrocketing, et cetera, et cetera. And you have all the different types of, there's land, there's all these different types of assets that could be moved up. But if that happens too fast, like if Scott Bessent came out tomorrow and said that like we're going to pay $50,000 per ounce of gold to buy your gold from you, it would break the entire financial system. It would completely bankrupt like every financial institution in the world. But that's kind of what has to happen. So the question is, can this happen in an orderly manner? Can we take enough time for this to happen to bring these two? We've got the claims on value side of the ledger, which is really, really huge. And then we've got the actual existent value that we recognize as value that's really small. These need to balance. How quickly are they going to balance out with each other? If you do it too fast, you break everything. If you don't do it at all, or you do it too slow, then everything breaks. So like you either break everything or everything breaks. You have to balance this somehow. So we need to find out what things are actually worth. Which means we need to find out what all of the bad things that are out there that are distorting what things are actually worth need to be uncovered. They exist in the shadows. They need to be uncovered somehow. And then there needs to be a mechanism whereby these things can correspond to one another again. So the entire world. No.
Boner alert.
I thumped the mouse here and clicked the soundboard again. Dave says I'm at 30 minutes left in me. What is the goal? We are $230 away from the goal. So what the entire world has been built upon the US dollar system. And this is the thing that the guys like Larry don't understand, is that they say, oh, well, like the United States is going to go bankrupt. We've got all of this outstanding debt. The United States is going to go bankrupt when people realize that debt isn't worth anything, that's bad debt. That's debt that should have never existed, and it needs to be just wiped away. But just wiping it away is like, that debt is the foundation for a whole bunch of other things. And if you just wipe that debt away, then you wipe away all those other things as well. And we need those other things. But here's the thing. We're never going to get to a point where there is going to be a better alternative, because everything has been built on the US dollar system. So for you to have that big bankruptcy moment where suddenly everybody realizes this isn't worth anything, there has to be a better alternative that people can go to that provides all of the same things that they are currently getting from investing in US debt.
Welcome to the suck, homos.
Thank you for the 5 subs, Dr. Doom Guy. Showing up again. So as this is like the big debate is what's the new thing that's going to emerge that provides all of the same features and values and reliability and dependability of US treasuries. Like a US Treasury is a bet on America's future. It's a bet on the productive capacity of the American people and the expectation that that's going to continue. They're investing in the American people fundamentally. When people buy US debt, they're investing in what they expect to be the future productive capacity of the American people. They tethered themselves to this when they formed the entire Eurodollar system. They tied their future inexorably to the United States. Now, if you tied your entire future inexorably to, I don't know, Pakistan, well, there's a really clear failure case for Pakistan. I'm just picking a country at random. They've got all these borders. They've got all these like diverse different peoples. Their relative economic productivity is much lower. They're sort of geographically isolated. They're right in the middle of like this big like hotspot. There's all these features that a country like Pakistan has that you have like a clear, obvious failure case for. But for the United States, the failure case for the United States to get to that point would require the failure of all of the other alternatives. And when all of the other alternatives fail, or let's say the more the other alternatives fail, as the weaker the weaker options start getting lopped off the bottom as they're going up the value chain here, the worse it is for everyone else, the better it becomes for America, because all of that investment, all of those bets on the future start consolidating on America. And this formulation just kind of popped into my head as I was listening to them. So you guys are probably, especially if you've come out of like the libertarian world, or you've thought about, you've been a gold bug, or thought about the problems of inflation or fiat currency, all these sorts of things, then you're familiar with medium of exchange, unit of account, and store of goods. These are like the primary features that something has to, the primary values that something has to have. So a value provided by a thing for it to be money, for it to serve as money. So I said, the dollar system, which is like the US tech stack, that is the medium of exchange. USD denominated stablecoins become the unit of account. And I just to, instead of me just kind of trying to explain this off the hip here, I just got quick one sentence definitions just to use as placeholders in your head. So, medium of exchange, you can trade it for goods and services without needing a double coincidence of wants. So it's the third thing that allows you to trade other things because it intermediates between them. Without that, you have pure barter. So you have chickens, you want a laptop, you must find someone who has a laptop and wants chickens right now. So you get the medium of exchange, which is the thing that facilitates, it stands in the middle, that facilitates the transaction with the other things. Then you have the unit of account. So everything is priced in the same unit, so you can compare value and keep books. Prices that are quoted in random goods, this costs 3 goats or 17 bushels of wheat, and so accounting and contracts then become nightmares, which is going to create a bunch of inefficiency, and it's going to prevent the system from scaling beyond a certain level. So a unit of account would be everything being priced in that same unit. Makes trade very easy, straightforward. And then the store of value is the obvious one. It holds purchasing power over time so that you can delay consumption. So store of value is like you're accumulating the product of energy so that you can expend that energy in the future. So without that, you'd have to spend or convert something immediately. You can't store it and prepare for the future with it. So the dollar system is the medium of exchange. US dollar denominated stablecoins will be the unit of account. And then US T-bills backed by gold, Bitcoin, and US assets are the store of goods. I just typed this into Grok. Grok says, yes, that's a coherent high conviction projection of the emerging monetary order, breaking it down cleanly. Medium of exchange, the dollar system in the US tech stack, FedWire, CHIPS, SWIFT, plus the American private rails that sit on top of them, Visa, MasterCard, ACH, real-time payments, the major cloud and custody layers. And I would add to this, it says here, this remains the highest throughput, deepest liquidity, and most legally protected settlement network on Earth. Even if other currencies or crypto rails grow, the actual clearing of large volumes of value still tends to route through or settle against the American stack. This is network effects plus legal finality that are extremely sticky. The entire world has made itself dependent upon this. And the longer that the rest of the world is dependent upon it, the more dependent upon it they become. This is the network effects. And then the legal environment is a big thing as well. The legal and corporate structure environment that the United States has, which is extremely sophisticated and extremely sticky itself. It's the best and most efficient way of doing business in the world. That doesn't mean that it doesn't have shortcomings or issues or bugs. It means there are no better alternatives. And anybody who's like a dollar bear or like thinks that the United States is going to break up and collapse, which these ideas are tied together, they're incapable of thinking in context. They're incapable of thinking contextually. They just evaluate the thing in a vacuum. And what it really is it's like a spiritual posture of anti-American sentiment. They've been conditioned for so long to believe that America is going to collapse that they're trying to outdo themselves in predicting when that collapse is going to be. Basically, they're betting on the collapse. There's no distinction between those two. No distinction that matters, at least. Brandon Walsh in the YouTube chat. Good to see you, man. I haven't seen you around in forever. He says, I've been accused of being derivative. You've been accused of being absent. It's good to see you, man. Mirachuk now says, what amazes me is that super smarts will reference the 2008 crisis, which was a derivative crisis, and they made movies about it, but skip forward 18 years and the smarts are, what is derivative? Yeah, right. Ben Shapiro on 2X says, reminds me of an ad for Singapore I saw in a business magazine once that gave stable rule of law as one of its good points for doing business there. Yes, that's extremely important. And again, this is a relative metric. Because people might be dissatisfied with stability in the United States, but then they look around elsewhere and they're like, okay, well, what other area is more stable? And stability is not the only metric either. It has to be stable, but it also has to be liquid. It has to be expansive. It has to be flexible. It has to be global. Or at least it has to extend to the regions of the world that are relevant to you. So that's the medium of exchange part. Then the unit of account, USD denominated stablecoins, so USDT, USDC, and then whatever succeeds them, likely more tightly regulated, possibly with direct or indirect Fed facilities. This is already happening at the margin in crypto markets, emerging market trade, and cross-border B2B. Pricing, invoicing, and balance sheet denomination in pure USD stablecoins gives the convenience of crypto rails while retaining the unit that everyone already thinks in. So you get the convenience of crypto rails in terms of speed, transparency, like with a blockchain having the how would you say it, the ledger effective, where you can always go see the history of all the transactions. You got that full transparency on the blockchain. And then also price, so speed, price, transparency, legibility, all these sorts of things. But you retained the unit that everyone already thinks in. Again, if I say a burrito costs $20, that means something to you. If I said a burrito cost 76 stable coins, you'd be like, I don't know what that means. Is that a lot? Is that a little? But when it's a USD stablecoin, then you know the stablecoin is pegged to the value of USD. So if you value something in USD already, this is already the terms that you think in, then the transition over to stablecoins is very easy. It decouples the unit from the physical or paper form of the dollar without abandoning the dollar's cognitive monopoly. Sometimes I gotta be honest, sometimes I love the way that the AI will phrase things. It can be very parsimonious in its phrasing sometimes. So decoupling the unit from the physical or paper form of the dollar. TC!
Miss you bros, hope y'all are thriving, enjoying the summer. Been busy with fam moving and fixing up my place and avoiding social media for my sanity. The mood data center's conspiratard plague is unbearable.
So true. So true. It's good to hear you. I'm glad you're doing well. Keep it up. Make sure you check in every so often so we know you're doing well. And come jump in the voice chat tonight in the Discord. So it decouples, so the stablecoin, pure USD stablecoins decouples the unit from the physical or paper form of the dollar without abandoning the dollar's cognitive monopoly. And then the store of value or store of goods. Here the projection gets interesting. U.S. Treasuries is the primary risk-free or least risky. This is the most important. This is an incredibly important distinction. All of the like gold bug or hardcore Bitcoin or Bitcoin maxi or dollar bear types, the way they look at the dollar tends to be they're looking for the thing that is risk-free. They're trying to find the thing that is risk-free. Spoiler alert. There is no risk-free store of value. It does not exist. Life has risks. Everything you try to store value in will have risks associated with it.
Homos.
Thank you, Emperor Trades. The question is, which one is the least risky? So U.S. Treasuries is the primary least risky store, but increasingly understood as claims ultimately backed by a broader collateral base. Gold, Bitcoin, and the productive capacity of U.S. assets, real estate, tech, and IP. When we talk about this dollar system here in the U.S. tech stack, this is, when I'm talking about it, this is part of what I'm thinking, is all, the total summation of all U.S. assets, real estate, technology, and IP. The legal code, the legal tradition associated with the United States. The business culture, the business structure, business formation capacity of the United States. All of these things together, those things on their own have no peer around the world. This is the key evolution. Pure unbacked treasuries worked for decades because of the privilege of the issuer. In a multipolar, higher inflation, higher debt world, the market will demand, and is already beginning to demand, that the treasury complex sits on a harder foundation. This is what's happening right now. The entire world has bound itself to the future of the United States by building its entire financial structure off of the treasury complex. Now the world is demanding that treasury complex sit on a harder foundation. This is the emergent incentive pattern here, is not to abandon the treasury complex, but to solidify it. Gold re-enters the picture as the oldest hard collateral. Bitcoin is the newest digitally native non-sovereign hard collateral. and U.S. real assets as the cash flow engine that services the debt. Monetizing U.S. assets, U.S. real assets, so many of which have been bogged down or held behind regulation or cartelization, which is kind of the same thing. The T-bill becomes the liquid yield-bearing claim on that combined collateral stack rather than pure faith and credit. You talked about the yen carry trade. People would go get basically free money from Japan, convert it to dollars, and then go somewhere else. Like, I'm going to need these dollars in the future. I know I'm going to need the dollars because I want to participate in the U.S. market, because I want to, because I have debts denominated in dollars that I'm in the process of paying. So I know in the future I'm going to need dollars. So I'm going to go get dollars now in a place where they're cheap, and then I'm going to put them somewhere where they're paying me. Rather than just sitting on the dollars themselves, I'm going to go buy U.S. treasuries. I'm going to go invest in U.S. equities or other nations as well. But specifically, and this pattern is going to increase. We're already seeing that there's going to be a building momentum of capital flight into the United States as all the other alternatives start falling by the wayside. And so I know that I'm going to need dollars in 6 months. So I could go get dollars and just hold on to them as they decline in value, or I get the dollars and use them to buy treasuries that are going to pay me the spread between what I got the dollars for and what the treasuries are paying right now. I can keep that spread and have my store of value so that I have the dollars available to me to go pay my debts or do whatever else in the future. So the T-bill is a liquid, extremely liquid, yield-bearing claim on that combined collateral stack rather than pure faith and credit. The combined collateral stack here being U.S. assets, real estate, tech, IP, legal code, business structure, but specifically those things as they are being unleashed and maximized by the productive capacity of Americans. The world is demanding that America become more productive. So why is this configuration durable? It preserves American monetary hegemony without requiring the pure fiat model of 1971 to 2020 to continue forever. It absorbs Bitcoin and gold into the system rather than fighting them as pure competitors. Stablecoins act as the bridge layer that lets the rest of the world use dollar denomination without needing direct access to the Fed or US banks. This is a big thing. Now the world, if they want access to the dollar system, if they want to invest in America, they literally need internet access. Emperor Trades.
How can you have hard money if every other country has a central bank, fiat money, and will inflate the value of your hard money away? The euro dollar and yen carry trade are examples of inflation out of our control. For now.
Right. And you have to bring that back under American control without breaking America, but ideally you also don't break everyone else. But you have to make it hurt for them. You have to have the stick and motivate them toward the carrot, where they just voluntarily opt into the future system. Like, if there was a way to press a button and everyone wakes up tomorrow, they just magically have access to the new system and they fully understand and are bought into it and they just seamlessly move over to it, there'd be no issues whatsoever. Everyone would just get up and change their behavior tomorrow, and they would all be in perfect lockstep, so there would be no... But it's going to take people time to change. And so, to make the change as the least disruptive you possibly can, you need to induce people into moving that direction on their own. But what this is going to do is it's actually going to decentralize access to the dollar system. No longer is it going to require being filtered directly through the Fed or not just U.S. banks, but the local banks. You know, if you're in, I don't know, Tunisia, you just need internet access and you can acquire dollars. And if a local state like that was to say, no, we're going to block your access to to US stablecoins or whatever, then they're just going to get Sky Doritos. Then the tech stack, the custody, the settlement, the identity, and the compliance remains the scarce resource that other countries cannot easily replicate at scale. There's the dollar, there's the actual like currency, there's the actual units that you exchange back and forth, and then there's the entire dollar system, which is bound up with the tech stack. That tech stack cannot just be replicated. This is essentially a hybrid hard money plus network effects monetary regime. Thank you, Nevsky. This is essentially a hybrid hard money plus network effects monetary regime with the United States still sitting at the center, just with a more explicit collateral hierarchy underneath the T-bill than the post-Bretton Woods system admitted. It's a plausible end state if the U.S. plays its remaining cards well. Main risks are political, overissuance that degrades the collateral quality, or regulatory hostility that pushes the stablecoin or Bitcoin layer offshore and out of U.S. legal reach. The Clanker thinks I have a strong framing. Now, I tried two things here. I said, because I'm trying to, you have money and you have currency, and they're not exactly the same. It's what is it? Not all currency is a derivative of money, but not all money is currency. And so I'm trying to, like, I think we're going through an evolution in how we even understand what money and currency are, how they relate to each other. So I said, first, the world's currency is the productive capacity of the American people. Grok says, correct, and more fundamental than the previous layer. The productive capacity of the American people is the actual ultimate backing of the entire stack we just described. So this whole, like, the whole tech stack here is super valuable unless Americans stop maintaining it. If Americans just like, if all Americans woke up tomorrow and they were innumerate and illiterate, then the tech stack would not be super valuable anymore. So it's the productive capacity of the American people, and this should, my Hamiltonians out there, you should be getting excited when you hear this. Everything else is downstream. Gold and Bitcoin are hard, non-sovereign stores of value. They constrain the system and provide credible collateral, but they do not generate the surplus that services debt or funds consumption. Gold and Bitcoin alone will not generate a surplus. It requires, like, if they just existed in a vacuum, they would not generate a surplus on their own. U.S. Treasuries are claims on future tax revenue and the ability to refinance. That ability only exists because the American economy can produce goods, services, and innovation at scale. U.S. stablecoins are just the digital expression of the unit. Their credibility collapses if the underlying productive engine stalls. The tech and settlement stack is powerful, but it is a coordination layer on top of real output. The dollar's residual privilege does not primarily come from military power, the petrodollar arrangement, or even the depth of capital markets. Those are amplifiers. The core residual is that the United States still concentrates an outsized share of high-value human capital, institutional competence, energy abundance, technological frontier, and the legal political environment that lets that capacity compound. When people say the dollar is backed by nothing, they're usually looking one layer too shallow. It's backed by the ongoing willingness and ability of Americans to work, invent, build, extract, and organize at a level that the rest of the world still wants access to, directly or indirectly. This is why hostility to the dollar bearishness is fundamentally an expression of anti-Americanism. And I don't think that all dollar bears are necessarily, I don't think they realize that they are being anti-American, but they are. This is why demographic trends, education quality, regulatory drag, energy policy, and cultural willingness to produce matter more than most monetary debates admit. So, demographic trends, education quality, regulatory drag, energy policy, and cultural willingness to produce. I mean, this to me, like, I could go through and write an entire book breaking down each one of these things, as core components, core things that are being targeted for either increase or decrease as appropriately by the Trump administration. Demographic trends. So you've got immigration, you've got family focus. Just off the top of my head, education quality. There's like a tie-in with AI here. There's going after the universities. There's hollowing out the empty parts of the credentialing system. The whole video I played at the end of the stream yesterday about Michael Kratsios and the way that they're approaching like funding science and tying together technical technical education, technical degrees with the actual workers. Regulatory drag, obviously, this is an obvious one. Energy policy, these are obvious. Cultural willingness to produce. This is the big thing here. The cultural willingness to produce. And this is something that Americans have latently. We are a commercial people. We were founded as the nation was founded as a commercial nation. And we have access, relatively speaking, to more resources than anyone else. If that capacity erodes faster than the rest of the world can replace it, then no amount of gold, Bitcoin, or stablecoin architecture will preserve the current hierarchy for long. The previous projection, dollar tech stack is medium exchange, yada, 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 okay. And so then I said, so the first time I said the world's currency is the productive capacity of the American people. And I said the world's money is the productive capacity of the American people. Grok says yes, and this is the cleanest formulation yet. Currency is the unit. Money, properly understood, is the claim on real output. The productive capacity of the American people is the residual source of that claim. Everything else in the stack we discussed is derivative. Stablecoins are just the most convenient current expression of the unit. Treasuries are liquid claims on future American production, taxed to refinance. Gold and Bitcoin are hard collateral that discipline the system and provide exit options, but they do not create the surplus. They can't exist outside the system. They don't have value outside the system. Their value, like there's a reason why there's a reason why so much technology has been built above and beyond them, because they don't provide the full necessary value on their own. Like gold, for example, you got the really big issue of like it's heavy and it takes up lots of physical space and it's really inconvenient. It's difficult to fractionalize. The dollar tech stack is the settlement coordination layer that lets the world access American output with the least friction. Strip those layers away and what remains is the capacity itself. The ability of a critical mass of Americans to invent, organize, extract, manufacture, farm, code, defend, and compound capital at a level that the rest of the world still cannot fully replace. That capacity is what ultimately settles the accounts. What do you think is going to happen when a critical mass of Americans gain access to technology that puts a huge multiplier on their ability to invent, organize, extract, manufacture, farm, code, defend, and compound capital? If you doubt that, you doubt the American spirit. You doubt the American ethnos. You don't believe it is what it actually is. What it is that defines American greatness. This is why monetary debates that stay at the level of what backs the dollar usually miss the point. The dollar is not primarily backed by gold, oil, or military force. Those are important secondary supports. It's backed by the ongoing differential in productive power. When that differential shrinks, every higher layer of the monetary system becomes more fragile regardless of the collateral architecture. The statement's therefore not metaphorical. In the deepest operational sense, the world's money is the productive capacity of the American people. All other monies are claims, derivatives, or substitutes for it. The ongoing differential in productive power. And then you have an administration talking about the Hamiltonian system of political economy. Or technically, it's the American system of political economy as expressed by Hamilton, which is focused on optimizing for and maximizing the productive power of the people. That this is the role of the federal government. The role of the federal government is to create the conditions within which the people can be maximally productive. And once this all becomes clear, it should be obvious why there's been such a generational sustained effort at minimizing the extent to which Americans can maximize their own productive power. Because what does it do to the rest of the world? No one can keep up. Check this out. U.S. workers who are functionally illiterate earn roughly the same per hour as the average British worker. The average hourly wage by literacy or numeracy level adjusted for US versus UK living costs. The circle size is the percent of workers at each proficiency level. Whoops. And then if you can see if I can't zoom this in anymore, but so less than 1 for literacy means understands only simple sentences and basic familiar words. That would be the first line here on the left. And then numeracy under 1 performs only basic single-step operations like counting. And then level 4, the farthest to the right, level 4 plus is roughly equivalent to university level. This was a study done on the Luxembourg Income Study and the OECD PIAAC and Adult Literacy and Life Skills Survey. Remember when all the Europeans came over to America for the World Cup and were like, holy shit, we had no idea just how advanced and wealthy and beautiful America is. They think that they're equal to us. They see us through the internet. They think we're equals. But look at this. The literacy under 1, so understands only simple sentences and basic familiar words. The vast majority of the UK population at levels 2 and 3 are virtually in the same tier as the US population that is basically subliterate and subnumerate. America's got all sorts of issues, but comparing the United States and the European nations is a category error. These are completely different entities. So now, with that sort of like, I guess one other thing that I forgot to mention that I was going to talk about, get tarred mogged euros. The one other thing I was going to mention is the Brent crude contract. So part of that whole, I talked about the big difference in value between the actual physical things that you have, or the actual things of value versus the claims on the things of value. And the Brent crude contract that has been used predominantly to price oil. This is the thing that everybody uses as their oil price metric. It's a financialized contract. The financialization is creating a thing of value separate from the actual physical thing that it's tied to. So like a mortgage is a separate, distinct thing from the house that the mortgage is taken out against. But the house is the actual real thing of value. Without the house, the mortgage is worthless. And so then there's the relative value of the mortgage to the house. So the Brent crude contract has been a long-standing way of manipulating energy prices around the world. And manipulating it fundamentally at its root against American prosperity and American dominance. Forcing America to try to play by everyone else's rules when America doesn't need to. So breaking the current state of the Brent crude contract is this financialization tool that the financialists, it's like oriented around the European perspective, even though a lot of them are Americans. And then there's just kind of like this is just how the system works, and so we're bought into it as it is. But in order to go where we need to go, the Brent crude contract needs to be substantially disrupted, which means those who have set it up and maintain it and use it as a way of creating arbitrage opportunities to create, you create this arbitrage opportunity and you hold that arbitrage opportunity open so that you can keep extracting value from the system in a way that does not promote the future of the system. It's parasitic. So there's a couple of clips here I have of Bessent talking about the situation in Iran, and he makes a couple of sort of interesting points here that I wanted to highlight.
There's some who've speculated the strait will never go back to being the way it was before. What would you say?
I would say, I think they're saying that in a doomsday sort of way. I would say it in another way. The strait is never going back to the way it was because the Iranians have used or tried to use it as a choke point. What we are going to see over the next 2 years, the strait's going to become irrelevant. It is going to become just another body of water, and I would say that more than 50 or 70% of the energy that moves through the strait now is going to go through underground pipelines.
So they say that the strait is never going to go back to the way it was before. And Bessent's like, yeah, that's right, it isn't. Remember we talked about the Epstein list, we talked about blackmail? And how blackmail is only useful when you don't use it. As soon as you've used it, as soon as you've played that card, it loses its value. So ideally, you play that card and you get something in return for it. This is what the Strait of Hormuz was. The world was held hostage by the previous state of play on the ground, or on the water, I suppose, with the Strait of Hormuz. Their hand was forced. They said they've been threatening for years and years. Oh, we'll shut it down. We'll mine the strait. We'll shoot down and shoot any ships or planes that go through there. We'll block it off. We'll put a toll on it. You better not do the thing you think you want to do, because here's what we're going to do. Bet. We're going to do what we're going to do. Now, what are you up to? Oh, okay, I'm going to deploy my threat that I've been making. I told you I was going to do it. All right, you did it. Now the whole world is routing around you, and every day that goes by, you're losing control. We can wait you out. You can't. Yeah, it's never going to go back to the way it was before, because now the world has an incentive to go find alternative methods where they're not having to be held hostage by this state of play anymore. So you just burned your own asset. The Strait of Hormuz was an asset to Iranian interests, which you might have like Iranian in quotes. The interests that are the fist up the butthole of the Iranians, playing them like a puppet. They played their hand, and their hand was found wanting. So yeah, it's not going to go back to the way it was before, because people don't want to go back into the situation where this is going to be held over their heads again. And then, this one here. Now, there's something that he mentions in here that I think most people probably miss these sorts of references. Listen to this.
Most, if not all, of their capability to rebuild, and then we moved on to what we call economic fury, and that's a 1-2 punch. It's the blockade, and then what we're doing at Treasury, and we are tracking these accounts all over the world. We froze a crypto wallet linked to the IRGC the other day, about $130 million.
A $130 million crypto wallet in the IRGC. The IRGC they're like fluent in crypto? That's kind of odd. I wonder why the IRGC is so fluent in crypto. I wonder how they came up with $130 million in crypto wallets.
We have found the money man for the Ayatollah, and we are tracking the Ayatollah's properties around the world.
We found the money man for the Ayatollahs, and we're tracking his properties around the world.
To soon be able to print his $100 million dollar plus properties and show the addresses. And we're preserving this money for the American people, but most of all, we are constricting the regime. Their currency has collapsed. It is at an all-time low versus the dollar. It's in free fall. And we think the inflation rate is upwards of 180% in our
Mr. Stu says they can't be that fluent if their crypto wallet was seized. Well, see, here's the thing. When the U.S. Treasury decides that it wants your assets, there is not a single piece of technology at your disposal that is going to prevent you from having your assets seized by the U.S. Treasury. It's really that simple. This was the part right here. Let's see. Every facilitator that keeps the regime afloat is putting a target on its own back. The regime is running out of ways to move money. Well, how are they moving money? Somebody is facilitating them moving money. Who is facilitating them moving money? What sort of financial networks are deeply represented in and around the, what was it that Matt Dines called it? He said it's like a hedge fund with a military, the IRGC. Which deeply seated financial interests would have an interest in keeping the Iranian regime afloat and thus then putting a target on their own backs? Now, perhaps China, but China's been strangely acquiescent in all this. And this is what was funny is, as Tom was talking to Larry Leopard on that episode, he said, as he was kind of like taking in Tom's thesis and thinking about it, he just sort of came to it on the spot. He was like, well, it actually seems like it would make sense here if this whole like globalist system, China doesn't want any part in that. So there's actually seems to be a pretty strong incentive here for China to be on our side in this whole thing. That doesn't make the United States and China allies. They've got their own beefs that they have to sort out, but the United States and China have much more incentive to have a collaborative relationship than the United States and Europe. Because Europe does not know how to exist in a relationship with another nation where they don't get to preen about them being the precious love child, not the love child, but the dominant one in the relationship, the esteemed one, the one who has all the lore and the history and the respect. And European nations cannot imagine being a junior partner and accepting that they are a junior partner. They're going to have to be bankrupted into that realization. Once they accept their junior partner status, the world is going to be their oyster. The United States and the European nations want to have good relationships with each other. Americans like Europeans. But even in something as Eurocentric as soccer, shitlib American soccer fans are disgusted with Europeans because of how condescending and dismissive Europeans are to them. And lighter fluid just got dumped on this smoldering thing here during the World Cup. This right here is what really stood out to me. Every facilitator that keeps the Iranian regime afloat is putting a target on its own back. And then also the whole like hunting down the Ayatollah and we're going to publish his address on the internet. Now here's this other interesting one. Financial Lancelot is a bit of a queer, very panicking. But Scott Bessent was asked some hard questions by Japanese reporters yesterday about the sudden urgency of U.S. intervention in the yen. This interview went totally under the radar. So this is Japanese reporters interviewing Bessent, who is himself obviously very fluent in Japanese culture and Japanese financial institutions as he gets into in the interview. To understand why people are concerned about this, the last time the U.S. intervened in the yen was during the Asian financial crisis of 1998. By getting involved, the U.S. is clearly becoming concerned over the Bank of Japan's failed efforts to stabilize the yen's depreciation. This is the standard Eurocentric interpretation of this, that the United States is intervening reactively, defensively, and stabilizing the yen. At the same time, if they intervene too much and arbitrage traders smell blood in the water, the yen could rapidly reverse, appreciating against the US dollar and destroying the yen carry trade that has pumped US markets to nosebleeding heights. Scott Bessent worked for George Soros and was directly involved in currency arbitrage his entire career. Many blame Soros for contributing to the UK currency crisis of 1992, known as Black Wednesday, and the Asian financial crisis of 1998. So this is the sort of surface level, City of London-centric perspective on this is, the United States, the poor United States, they're almost going to crash and collapse, and they've got to, their friends, the Japanese, they've got to go bail them out and help them. And they're extending themselves even further. And see, Scott Bessent is doing it. He doesn't know what he's doing because he caused these other crises. Now listen to Scott Bessent and tell me if you think that that the United States is doing this because they're desperately scrambling and trying to hold things together as they're all collapsing underneath them, and see if you get that sense from him.
Thank you. So the first question is going to be, what was the primary objective behind the United States joining this historic coordinated intervention, and was it driven by the concerns over rising U.S. long-term interest rates?
Good to be with you. And the reason we did the joint intervention was as a symbol. The U.S. wanted to join with our great Japanese allies to show that we think that the Takaichi government has the right policies that will lead to long-term yen strengthening.
The reason we intervened was because we wanted to send a message. It was a symbolic move. We wanted to send a message. What is that message? You're an ally of ours, you're a close ally of ours, and we approve of the way that you're doing business, and we want to tell the whole world, if you want special treatment like what we're giving Japan, mimic Japan.
And we believe that excess volatility and undue yen strength could hurt indeed the Asia region and the entire global economy.
Who would be promoting excess volatility and artificially weakening the yen, threatening the stability of the greater Asian region? Who might have an incentive for that?
So you believe in mission, but could a weaker yen and a stronger dollar have negative consequences for the U.S. economy?
Well, we have a strong dollar policy, but when I look back, only good thing about being 63 is I've been in the markets a long time, and I remember the Asian financial crisis in the mid-90s, and one of the triggers for that was substantial yen weakness. So because Japan is such an important country and also a large exporter of capital with large trade flows, large capital flows, it's important for the yen to maintain its value.
You have vast knowledge about Japanese economy history, and I would like to ask you about that. I think that the FEMA repo facility has been affected, but do you believe more fundamental changes in Japan's fiscal and monetary policies are still needed?
So she was bringing up this FEMA, what do you call it? This mechanism, this fund that the Fed has, and she's saying, I don't know if you guys can hear her questions very clearly, but she's saying, do you think that there needs to be more fundamental changes to Japanese financial and monetary policy?
I believe that Abenomics has been a fantastic success. I went to Japan, I believe, first time in 1990. I've been more than 60 times and written extensively on Abenomics and Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. And I believe the past 14 years have been a success. And I think we're moving into a new phase, maybe Takaichi-nomics. And I believe that the Prime Minister...
So he's an Abe fan. Shinzo Abe, our great patriot, the man who rescued our president. And so Abenomics was a great transitional stage. And now we're moving into a new phase. Takaichi-nomics. So Takaichi being the prime minister of Japan. So listen to the way he's talking about this. We wanted to make a symbolic statement. What is the statement that we're trying to make? We believe that Japan has been artificially weakened for some reason. For some reason, who knows? And we approve of the way that they're doing business, the way that they're operating their government. And so when a nation who we see as an ally is doing the things domestically that we approve of, they're going to get special status. We're entering a new era now where this is U.S. global financial policy. When you conduct business the way we want you to, you get special perks. There is now a premium tier that you can have access to. It's going to cost something from you. But if you pay to access that premium tier through, trade deals and through protecting your own immigration standards and collaborating with us against our own enemies, all of these sorts of things, then you're going to get special financial privileges from the United States, and you're going to get access to the United States market, and you're going to be protected under the United States security umbrella.
The minister understands that this is a less reflationary phase and that Japan has successfully lifted itself out of deflation and has one of the strongest economies in the world.
So the gap between U.S. and Japanese interest rates remain a major factor behind the yen's weakness. Considering the strength and resilience of Japanese economy, do you think the Bank of Japan should continue raising rates at its next meeting?
I'm not going to tell Governor Ueda how to manage the economy. I've known him for more than 15 years, since he was a professor at University of Tokyo, and I have great confidence in Governor Ueda.
Does it mean to like
The connection between Bessent and Ueda jumped out at me just recently, and I realized this isn't Bessent, who's like some private sector dude who takes over as Treasury Secretary, and then he just is kind of like, got to go meet these people. No, he's like interfacing with longtime colleagues of his.
the rate hike?
Governor Ueda.
This accent here is tremendous. Notice he says late hike.
Does it mean to like the rate hike in the meeting, BOJ meeting?
Again, I am sure that Governor Ueda will do what is best for the Japanese economy, and the Japanese economy is very important for the world economy.
So Japan's Ministry of Finance has described this as the completed form of a U.S.-Japan currency alliance. Do you share that view?
So a Japan-United States currency alliance, that this is like the indicator of that this has been established. Is it your view that we have now established that there is a official formal currency alliance between the United States and Japan? Listen to Bessent's response.
I think we are in close contact. I think the alliance stems from the good relationships between our leaders.
The alliance stems from the good relationships between our leaders. So yes. The answer is, do you see this as a currency alliance? Yes.
President Trump and the Prime Minister have a very good relationship. He respects her, and we are great allies. As we have said many times, economic security is national security. National security is economic security. And I think Japan and the U.S. are both economic and military partners.
So you see that. We're economic partners. We're military partners, which makes us currency partners. And also, what is that partnership based on? It's based on the good relationship between God Emperor Donald Trump and Takaichi.
Just one quick question. Last meetings, after the last Fed meeting, there are long-term yields rose amid inflationary concerns. Do you think that the Fed should consider another rate hike this year?
I have great confidence.
So, talking about pressures on the long end of the American yield curve, and do you think that the Fed should have another rate hike this year?
And Fed Chair Warsh, that he will effectively balance the dual mandate of employment and inflation. And I do believe that we are seeing, in terms of headline inflation, temporary headline inflation that's generated mostly by the energy shock And the history of supply side shocks would tell you that they will work their way through the system. What we're seeing is core inflation remains quite under control.
So last really quick
So in other words, no, we don't think that he should do another rate hike.
question. So even after the coordinated intervention, the yen's rally has remained limited. So what would you like to see from the Japanese Treasury and the Bank of Japan to achieve more fundamental resolve of yen weakness?
Intervention is a signaling mechanism, and the U.S. wanted to signal that we have confidence in the Japanese policies, so we will need to see follow-through from the Japanese policies.
So intervention is a signaling mechanism. He said this again. At the start, he said, we did this because it was a symbol. We wanted to symbolize to everyone, when you behave like this, when we approve of your domestic policy packages, then we want to signal that we approve by giving you these special cookies. Mr. Su said it'll create a rift in all countries between globalism and nationalism. Partnering with America ironically enables your own country to carry out nationalism. That's a really, really good way of framing it. That what the United States is doing now, through Scott Bessent specifically, but through the trade deals, through energy policy, through currency and bond market policy, the United States is saying, if you, as a nation, embrace a nationalist platform for your nation, and then ally with the United States as a powerful nationalist nation, then you're going to you get to come into the inner circle. So if you want to continue being a part of the American system, if you want access to the American markets, if you want protection from the American security umbrella, you need to throw out the globalists.
But I do believe that part of the inflation uptick in Japan was a result of the weak yen and also the energy prices. I think we will get to the other side of the Iranian conflict. Energy will come down, and then as we no longer have excess yen weakness, that will also contribute to inflation coming down, and that Japan and the yen can go into a virtuous cycle.
So the yen weakness, he's talking about the yen carry trade here. What is the yen weakness created? It's created the pretext for a whole bunch of bad debt, effectively money printing, to play this arbitrage game. So you've got all this bad debt, and they're taking all this bad debt because they're borrowing money at near zero rates from Japan, and then funneling it into all the different assets and other investments and everything, which is overinflating their values, which is driving up prices. So if you cut out that arbitrage game, people can no longer carve out that VIG for themselves on an ongoing basis. This allows prices to drop back down again.
In your view, does the fact that the Japan is one of the largest holders of the U.S. dollar, did that factor in at any point?
What I'm more concerned about is the perception that the Japanese economy was overheating. And I think more importantly, for years, the JGB has been a global anchor for interest rates. And any perception that that anchor was being lost would be unhelpful or disorderly for markets. And I know that the MOF, BOJ, and U.S. Treasury are completely aligned that the JGBs are a very safe and sound asset.
So you have the JGB, the Japanese bond, as an anchor for interest rates. So all interest rates are being priced off of that anchor. Now that anchor has been more fully integrated into the American dollar system to the exclusion of the competing alternatives. There was one other thing, one other thought that I had that I was going to say as soon as that ended, and then it just escaped my mind. I don't remember what it was. Globo Bromo. Oh, it's so close. It's right there. Yeah, I don't remember exactly what it was, but basically the persistence of the yen carry trade was essentially just you think about all the different I remember what it was. You think about all the different transactions that are happening around the world every day, and every single one of them has little premiums tacked into them. One premium was I think, was it Alex Craner who called it the terror premium in the Strait of Hormuz? The fact that Iran existed and could maintain this, existed as it did and was able to maintain this this constant threat looming over the Strait of Hormuz created a terror premium that could be extracted both in the financialized oil contracts, inflating oil prices, and in shipping insurance. Once again, where is the center of financialized contracts and insurance in the world? They've been carving off a VIG to keep them. So essentially, they've been making everything more expensive for everyone else to maintain their little slice to themselves. You take out those little segments, those little premiums added to every single transaction. There was a yen carry trade premium on every single transaction. There was a Strait of Hormuz terror premium on every single transaction. You pull those out, you streamline the financial system, and the freeloaders are going to get cut loose. They're going to get bankrupted, but they're going to be given an opportunity if you guys want to, because some of these people are doing this malevolently. Some of these people are just like, this is just how business is done. So you give them the opportunity to buy into the new system. And this is what I was going to say. One big dollar bear thing is, everyone's just going to sell U.S. debt and the U.S. rates are going to skyrocket and it's going to bankrupt America, yada, yada, yada. What they've been doing is they've been going to, as they do each of these bilateral trade deals or currency swap line deals, is they are offering, giving priority access to these nations. Dump your treasuries. Sell your treasuries. We're going to open up a currency swap line for you. We're going to sign a trade deal with you where instead of you being invested in U.S. debt, we're going to do this in a controlled manner where you take that investment and you put it into U.S. assets. You put it into U.S. equities. You put it into the U.S. stock market. This is why the stock market is mooning. So you guys are going to pay for our reindustrialization. You guys are going to pay to maintain American retirement accounts. You guys are going to pay to maintain American investment portfolios as we reset our bond market, as we consolidate this out of control debt problem, transition over to a new monetary system. We want you to divest from treasuries in a coordinated way in collaboration with us and take all of that investment in America, and instead of putting it into our debt, put it directly into our manufacturing facilities. Put it into buy our energy. And it could be buy gold, buy Bitcoin. The United States has such substantial holdings of gold and Bitcoin that other nations divesting from US debt and going into gold and Bitcoin is it's a balance sheet maneuver for the United States. Cheeky says, de-risk dollar oil contracts will help supercharge the other energy flows infrastructure. Yes, and that's where these things you get a meta compounding effect, where you're starting to win on both sides of the trade. Is that where the trillions in global investment is coming from? A lot of it, yeah. Not all of it. It's not like exactly one-to-one, but that's one big component of it. Yeah, the entire world economy hinges on America. There is no divesting. That's like the staring contest here is... Everyone says, like Luke Grumans of the world are like, everyone's just going to sell U.S. treasuries. And buy what? Yeah, there's pressures there that make them want to sell U.S. treasuries, but if they sell U.S. treasuries, how are they going to get access to the U.S. system to pay all of their dollar-denominated debts? Well, what if they buy U.S. equities? What if they instead invest in the American market and get priority access for that investment, for that show of good faith? And look at this. The end of the narco dictatorship in Colombia. This is Medellin at midnight, celebrating the end of Gustavo Petro's disastrous administration. It's happening again. This is what happens in Trump's golden age. Anti-fireworks displays, America coded. So true, so true. Joe Lonsdale said turning off money that our DC agencies like USAID and others were paying to sketchy left-wing NGOs in Latin America is allowing its people to be free of corrupt far-left narco leaders. A president in the region confirmed this to us at dinner last week. He said you wouldn't believe how powerful these terrible NGOs had been, and that in 2025, it was like G.I. Joe air cover came in and blew them up. Thank you, President Trump and Elon Musk. And the last thing today, we continue our celebration of Japan and the American spirit. We've got our great Japanese poster, Japan Nobunga. Japan Nobunaga. I attended a county fair and watched a child sell a pig. The pig is worth, I am told, somewhere near $400. I looked this up afterward because I did not believe what had happened. What happened? The girl is 12. She walked the animal into a ring wearing a white shirt and a numbered card. She had raised it herself from a piglet for 9 months, which I confirmed, and she had a binder of records because the program requires one. The bidding began. Local men, a man from a bank, a man who sells tires, a woman who owns a restaurant I had eaten at the previous evening. It did not stop at 400. It stopped at 3,200. I turned to the man beside me and asked whether the pig was of exceptional quality. He said, "It's a fine pig." I asked whether it was worth $3,200. He said no. I asked why the price was $3,200. He said, "She's a good kid." I stood up. I could not remain seated. I said out loud in a metal building that smelled of animals that a market which knowingly and deliberately misprices a good in order to put a child through a university and does so every year in the open with an auctioneer and a microphone is not a market at all, but a right, and that I have never seen a province conduct one so cheerfully. He said, "You want a lemonade?" I said that I did. Here is the part that I had entirely misread. The men bidding against each other were not rivals. They were raising it together. The tire man bid, then the bank man bid, and the tire man nodded at him, and they were pushing the number upward on purpose in public in front of the girl. She knew. Everyone knew. The auctioneer knew. The right requires that nobody says it. Afterward, the girl shook every buyer's hand. She writes them letters later. That is also part of it. She writes letters. I asked the restaurant owner why she bids every year. She said, "Somebody bought mine." She is 58. That's America. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for your contributions to the Erickson cause tonight. Have yourselves a fine weekend. Make sure you show up Sunday afternoon evening for the Pseudowave. We're watching Firefly. And come join us now in the King Pill Discord voice chat where we will go deep into the night. Go to kingpill.com, sign up. Make sure you go to beta.ewbsx.com and create your account there. And I will be back for the Pseudowave. Until then, I leave you with Hulk.
When they took a shot at my hero, and they tried to kill the next president of the United States, enough was enough. And I said, let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania rule again. Let Trumpomania make America